Hey guys, it's Zekin and welcome back to Planet Zoo. Today we're going to be getting 3 new animals in Beryl Zoo, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So we're starting off with something different today. I don't really show you guys much of the planning process that goes into making some of the builds, and so usually I just draw it out on paper and then I'll use that as the reference when I'm building. So I took a bird's eye view screenshot of part of the zoo and then drew over it in Microsoft Paint. Next, I started working on the Red Panda exhibit, and as you can see, I'm starting to work on one of the 2 really large viewing areas, which would be the only 2 main viewing areas. And then after that, we're going to be having like a peak glass viewing areas, which are going to be like one-way glass, so the Red Pandas can actually have a little bit of privacy at some points. I know the big glasses are not really that much of privacy, but with the amount of trees and the indoor section I'm going to be including later on, I'm sure they're going to be having a little bit of privacy because Red Pandas are shy animals. So this whole habitat is like in this kind of weird geometric-ish kind of a shape, and I really wanted to drift back to the modern kind of vibe of the whole Beryl Zoo, because for the last couple of videos you can see we have this really themed African area, and so I'd imagine that would be like the main expansions after the zoo was opened much later on, like a really large expansion which maybe they wanted to include an African area. So yeah, so as you can see right now I'm starting off with the indoor section. So I'm making an opening for the Red Pandas to traverse in and out of the indoor section. So a person over at Bronation found out that the opening for the Red Pandas doesn't really need to be that high. They can traverse through pretty kind of short openings, so it's not overly unrealistic. So I'm starting off with the landscaping, and like I said earlier, I really wanted to like have a bunch of trees that kind of act as blockage, so that when guests are viewing from the main viewing glass, the Red Pandas can have a bit of like a privacy, and so if they really want more privacy too as well, they can go into the indoor section. So yeah, kept the plant palette kind of on the birchy kind of side, used a bunch of birch trees in here, and then fill in some rocks and some shrubs, and then pretty happy with how it came out in the end. Also off camera I added in like a climbing structure made out of the African branches, and I'm really happy with how it came out. They traverse over it pretty well. The Red Pandas still require them to have a larger climbing area, but I'll just leave this for now. So yeah. So next I started working on some shades for the eating area right next to the coffee shop. This was inspired by an image I saw on Pinterest of these kind of really nice black triangular shades which look pretty modern and edgy, so really love how it looked and came out. So I used the wooden posts and the thin planks we have in the game to try and recreate it, so it kind of gives this area a bit of like a purpose, and so its design also falls along the lines of looking like an art installation. So really happy with how it came out. So it's made up of a bunch of all these like triangles, and they're arranged in such a way that it creates this kind of like, I don't know, a beach umbrella kind of thing, because it's kind of slanted to the side. So really happy with how it looks. Gives this area a nice modern feel to it, and with the black it just kind of pops out of the bamboo, and then the spruce wood backdrop fence behind the bamboo, so it just pops out of there. I'm really happy how it came out. By the way, we got a new update which fixed a lot of bugs and overall in-game performance. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but my game has been running much smoother after the update. But along with the update came with a new intro, which instead of the cute little elephant that we see running towards the globe and smashing it over, we now have an ostrich which just runs all the way towards the camera. It's pretty startling if you don't know what you're expecting. But yeah. After that, I started on the grizzly bear and wolf habitats. This is majorly based off of the land of the bears and wolves over at the Cherkasy Zoo in Ukraine. It had this really nice concrete kind of brutalist architectural style going on, and it just really fits the whole modern kind of style of the whole zoo. I most especially love how the surrounding walls look. So as you can see, I'm starting to use some of the new opaque glass pieces we got with the most recent free update, and then sinking them into ground to achieve this nice tiled kind of look. So I then started working on the surrounding walls, using the plaster pieces to make this vertical spiky kind of design going on. So thought it came out pretty well. So the past couple of weeks has been really jam-packed for me with a lot of like online classes, and with the whole situation that's happening right now, that's why I haven't really uploaded in like 2 weeks. So now it's kind of hard trying to find time to play and edit videos. But hopefully I'm going to try to still pull out some content for you guys. I'm just not guaranteeing it. So hope you guys understand, and yeah. So as you can see, I'm making 3 different variations of the wall. This is so I don't get repetitions throughout the whole pattern, so it looks somewhat realistic like it does in the actual habitat. So yeah. So now I'm starting to work on the main walkthrough section of the habitat. Because of how large it is in the reference, I had to kind of scale it down a teensy bit so it doesn't look out of scale relative to the guests in the game. So I used 2 plaster pieces to achieve this thick wall kind of look, because we don't really have any off-grid concrete which don't look overly rough. At first I wanted to use the temple pieces. I just realized that looked a little bit too dirty-ish and not really like how it is in the zoo, so I just went for the plaster pieces. One thing I had a real battle with doing later on this build was the paths, and I didn't use the regular 4-meter path because that seemed a bit too big in comparison to how it does look in the reference. So I had to use 2-meter and 3-meter path using the 2-meter path technique from Mike Sheets. This was a real struggle because even normally without using the technique in the game, the pathing is a struggle. But with this technique, oh geez, it was really hard trying to get gradual slopes and making sure I get the right turns and everything. But in the end, I'm pretty happy how it came out. Just really wish that we had 2-meter paths, which are just normal guest paths, not queue paths, 2-meter and 3-meter paths in the game. That will make life so much easier. But enough of the ranting. So another thing I worked on off camera was the implied otter exhibits. As of now, we don't have otters in the game yet, so it was just kind of just like an implied thing. So I just put down a bunch of water lilies and then put water down and then put African branches to make it seem like driftwood or something, and then just came up, and then it just came together pretty well. Hopefully one day we'll get otters and then we'll put them into the habitats. So I placed down all the glass fixtures off camera, and then I started to work on this really interesting geometric architectural bench which they have in the zoo. I've seen this a couple of times in some architectural magazines, and I thought it looked pretty cool. So when I saw this in the zoo, I was like, oh, I should really create this in the game. So I went ahead and used the different plank pieces and then used the pyramid shapes in the game to achieve that look, and I just thought it came out pretty good. So as you just saw, I started working on the landscaping. I lined up the edges of the water banks with rocks, and then I covered up like the glass pieces which keep the water existing essentially in the ponds. So I had to come up with a creative way to kind of make it look realistic and just cover up that glass piece. And so yeah, the 2 habitats each have a pond in them, one for the bear habitat and one for the wolf habitat, which kind of has a partial underwater viewing, which we'll get onto in the live portion. So now I'm starting to work on the foliage of the habitats. The bear habitat in particular doesn't really have that much foliage. From the pictures I kept on seeing, I see that they take the time to have just like a little bit of greenery in just a part, and then the rest, I think that there was a bunch of overgrown trees and they just chopped it down. So I put down like the fallen trees all over the habitat to give it that kind of look, and in the real zoo it makes it look really realistic. So yeah. So I placed down a couple of rocks to break up the monotony of the soil on the ground, so it gives it this kind of realistic kind of look to it. And also in the habitat, they have a bunch of rocks scattered around all over the habitat. One problem I kind of ran into with the rocks was that the bears can't traverse over anything really too steep, so they don't traverse over the rocks, even though I sink them in the ground so much that it's probably traversable by the bears in real life, because at the edge of the water, that's really how it looks so rough and everything. But because of the traversable hitboxes in the game, they can't really walk along the bank, so they kind of avoid the rocks. But I made a small opening at the edge so that they can still go into the water and have a dip. So yeah. So I then started on working on the foliage for the wolf habitat. It pretty much has the same vibe and everything, only that it's a little bit more foliage dense and has trees and everything. So yeah, so pretty much we're heading on to the end of the time lapse. Hope you enjoyed, and we're gonna be heading into the life portion in a sec. Okay, so welcome to the life portion of the video. I'm gonna be giving you guys a quick look around at everything I did, so let's get on with it. So first of all, I'll show you guys the final result of the shades that we're working on in time lapse. So this is how it finally came out, and I'm really happy with how it came out. It's, like I said, it has this kind of modern, edgy vibes to it, and so it just looks overall cool. Okay, so you can see we have the Red Panda exhibit over here. So this is the really big viewing section I was talking about. So you can get really good views of the Red Pandas as they're just walking around. And so you can see the trees I was talking about that kind of block off the Red Pandas a bit, but you can still get really good views, but it kind of gives them a little bit of privacy. So pretty happy how it came out. So to the left we can see that one-way glass thing I was talking about. So from the guest point of view, they can see pretty much the Red Pandas, but from the Red Pandas point of view, it's like opaque, so that gives them a much more privacy. And then this is the climbing structures I was talking about, which I made from the African branches. And then really happy it came out. They use it from time to time, but just overall good enough. So okay, look at this little guy over here. They're so cute. Anyways, this is the secondary viewing, which I'll be getting to in a second, but let's head on to the interior portion. So this is the interior, pretty basic things, the bedding, and then water, and then some food, and then yeah. So okay, let's just warp our way back out here. So this is the backside of the Red Panda exhibit. So this is the guests can get really good views of when the Red Pandas head on to the back over here. So really happy with how that came out. So this is the front facade of the bear and wolves habitat. I wanted it to have kind of a really nice modern kind of a feel to it. So shout out to Carlos for sending me over some of the inspiration he did, and then I just picked up some images and then merged some ideas together and then came up with this. So yeah. If we head on to the side, we can see we have this playground section over here. This is inspired by the one at the Cherokee Zoo. It has this weird orby kind of shape to it, but I just went for the simple kind of half circle shape. And so you'll see we have these cute stuff I got from the workshop, this ant kind of spring ride thing, and then this slide, as well as the teeter-totter or seesaw or whatever you want to call it, is from Rudy Renkamel. I repurposed his stuff for this place over here, so I really thought it came out pretty well. So this swing was inspired by like a bunch of images of spring like swings I saw on Pinterest, and just thought it would be cool to implement it here. The flooring for this playground is the Indian carpets, so it kind of gives off this kind of nice play mat kind of look to it, so pretty happy. So the front facade for the like the main part of the building, I used a bunch of like the thin planks to create this feeling of like the concrete is divided up into sections, and I usually see this design mostly, and then I always want to like put it in the game, so really happy with how it came out. Let us head on into the interior. So when we head on here, we can get really good views of the wolves over here, like so. Oh, they're so cute. So we can get really good views of the wolves, and as well as when the little puppies and the wolves take a dip in the water, you can get kind of a kind of underwater viewing of them. So really happy. Oh, let's just pretend we didn't see that. So this is the information section for the wolf habitat. So I used a bunch of the plaster pieces to make this kind of mountainous kind of backdrop for the wolves, and then I repurposed Ricey's information sign, recolored it, and just looks pretty cool. So I also repurposed, I think it was the information wall for the African mango. I forgot who made it, but I'll leave a link to it in the description below. So since the New World kind of design in the game has this kind of edgy kind of a cute kind of design, I just implemented this with diamonds, and then I imagined that they would have pictures of wolves over here in the different boxes. So these overhead track lights are actually inspired by an episode of Pelosa Zoo, which you guys should probably go check out. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. You guys really need to check this zoo collaboration out. It's really awesome. So in the latest episode in which Remnant did a bunch of awesome stuff, he used these directional lights and then just stuck it to the thin planks, and it gave it this kind of nice spotlight kind of feeling that looks pretty cool. I'll show this off in the nighttime in just a short while. So if we turn ourselves back, we can see we have these triangular kind of wall arch over here. I got this from the workshop. I was just scrolling through, and then when I came across this, I was like, oh, that could look pretty cool on this wall, because this wall was pretty bland without it. And also these are pond shrimps information boards and everything, so really thought it would be nice to implement it over here. So you can get a nice view of the otter exhibit over here, as well as the bear exhibit, so which is really awesome. So here we have another information section for the bear and everything, and then with the track light, and thought it came out pretty well. So without further ado, let's head on to the top. Get to see more of the triangle kind of art across the walls. And so let's head on here, and we can get a really good overview of the bear habitat. Just really happy with how it looks. And then if we head on down over there, you can get a good view of the wolf habitat. So these are just the overview sections. So let's head on into the actual walkthrough. So if we head on, whatever. So if we head on to the walkthrough, you can get much up close views of the bear habitats over here. And this is one of Ricey's information signs, which I repurposed as well, and then just slapped on the bear New World sign. Just looks pretty cool. So to the left, you can get views of the otter exhibit down there, and so imagine if maybe otters were actually in the game. Guess to be getting really good views over here. And so if we head on down, get much closer views, but this whole walkthrough has a bunch of multiple views of the bear habitats and the wolf habitat, so we'll get to them. So once we get here, we can get to the main hub area, and you can see our bench over here that kind of really nice complements with the whole area, and I just slapped on a bunch of plants at the side of it. And then if we get here, we can get really good 360-degree kind of views of the wolf habitat, as well as the bear habitat over here. So thought it came out pretty well. Oh, look at that cute little cub. So anyways, let's head on down here. So we can see the gradual slopes, which I talked about, and this was a real pain to do, but really happy it worked out at the end of the day. So you can see I use more of pond shrimps information boards over here, and then we can get more views of the bear habitat over here. So let's head on down here more. And then you can see another of Pond Shrimp's awesome information boards. And then to the right, we can get like this really good up close view of the bear habitat. I saw an image online that shows the bear is actually holding on to this ledge in the real zoo. And so if that were to be possible in the game, I think that would be a really cool interaction between guests and the animals. So yeah, let's head on down here. So here you can start to get to see views of the wolf habitat over here. And then then I use one more of Ricey's information boards, which is really awesome. And then as we head on here, we can get to see the bottom section viewing area for the habitat. So over here you can get kind of a underwater-ish kind of view of the bear habitat. And then to the right, well, to the left, we have the bear, like this information art kind of thing. I used the switches to make like the trees, so it looks kind of like a backdrop in a way. And then I just also used the diamonds and the information, just really thought it came out well. So you can see we have the bear and the information. And then if you look up, you can get to see this kind of a starlit ceiling kind of thing. Because we don't have a starlit ceiling in the game, I had to improvise. So I synced in the string lights in the ceiling, and because they reflect, they give this kind of nice star effect in the ceiling. So I thought it looked pretty cool. So yeah, if we head ourselves here, you can get to see another underwater view of the other otter exhibit. And then you can get to see here views of the wolf exhibit over here. So more information boards, more, and then just really awesome stuff. So really happy with how it came out. So as we walk up here, you can get to see the slopes start to get a bit more steeper because we're getting back to the top. And then you can see more another of Ricey's awesome information boards over here that I re-implemented. So if we head up here, we can get to see more up close views of the otter exhibits. So you can get to see this one over here and this one over here. Oh, that's two up close, okay. So this I'd imagine would be like a staff only section, in which this is like leading to the other side of the otter exhibits. You can see I put like a hole because I'd imagine this is where the otters will climb in and out between their indoor and outdoor habitats. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. Be sure to stay tuned for the cinematics, which will be coming up shortly. So yeah, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not. And when you subscribe, be sure to turn on that notification bell so you get notified whenever I post anything new. And I'll also be leaving links to my socials in the description below, so go check it out. See you later, guys, and until then, bye for now.